All right. Shalom, shalom. And first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Mashiach, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. All right, double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, whom taught us this truth. Shalom to the brothers and the very few sisters seeking and pushing Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Mashiach, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, in truth and sincerity. All right, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, right as I was me, Lord, willing the lesson be edifying, correct, and direct to feed the lambs of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Mashiach, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. All right, I'm the brother Adanya from the GMS Chicago branch. All right, and, I titled the lesson, Be a Man Like Ancient Men, because as disciples, all right, we reading through the book of Esther, man. And, all right, this king, Ahasuerus, which was, the world knows him as Xerxes, all right, there was a specific situation which the scriptures say that all these things were written for our learning, man. All right, so these different stories and scenarios, they written for our learning today, all right, in this present day, all right, in the right ways and the right paths, man. All right, throughout history, all right, history has been recorded, all right, and this history in the Holy Bible is the perspective of the history through the Israelite lens, man. From going all the way back to the beginning, all right, the creation, all the way through the revival and rebirth of Rome, man. The Holy Scriptures is still the most relevant book to apply to your current life, day to day, current like today, man. All right, so I just wanted to, be a man like ancient, man. All right, this place, it teaches you to be a fucking cupcake, fucking soft, man. All right, fucking emotional, man. All right, and that's not a way of ancient men. All right, the ancient men didn't stoop down to the ways of the wicked. They didn't stoop down. Ancient righteous men didn't stoop down to the ways of the wicked. All right, to the ways of these fucking women. All right, neither did the heathens. All right, they wasn't letting a woman rule over them. All right, that's how you know how far society and manhood as a whole has failed. All right, because all of these things are ass backwards, man. All right, so I'm start at verse 10, Esther chapter 1, verse 10. On the seventh day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Bibza, Harbana, Bigtha, Abigtha, Zethar, and Carcas, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the royal crown, to show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. All right, he the king, all right, and his his woman, all right, the wife of the king, all right, the woman of the king, he bid her to come, and join him in this ceremony. All right, but she refused, all right, which they do a lot more now, present day, than just refusing to be by your side, man. All right, there's adultery. Just know that it's adultery. You dealing with these women, you dealing with adultery. Now, they're not even worth it, man. It's like it. All right, it says, verse 13, then the king said to the wise men which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew the law and judgment. And next unto him was Karshina, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marcina, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to law? Because she have not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. All right, and we are a kingdom of priests, man. So you got the heathen, all right, with that, which had a kingdom, all right, that royal mentality, etc. All right, but we are our natural birthright heirs to a kingdom of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man. Naturally birthright, born into it, man. All right. So, reading about these kings give you a very good glimpse into the royal kingly mindset, man. All right, and it's definitely not subservient to anything, only to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, to our power, man, our head, and the men that whom he set above us, man, in order, Salakia. It says, verse 15, so what shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to law? Because she have not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. It says, and Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen have not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes. When it shall be reported, the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. She said, so they saying if this spread abroad, that the king couldn't even get his own woman to come, then what's going to happen? It says, verse 18, likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. He says, so if the king can't get his woman to listen and we don't do anything about it, nobody else in their order is going to be able to have their woman listen to them either, man. All right, it's going to rot heavy folly within that nation, man. And look at how far our nation has fallen. You got a happy wife, happy life. You got nothing but adultery, subservient men. All right, you got niggas, man. They know that their woman is going out eating dick, coming back home, laying in the bed beside them, man. You got some niggas out here watching it as it's going on. Complete, utter, just a lack of any type of moral upright character in this place, man. You know why? Because these things haven't been checked, and because you got a madman, a wicked Edomite ruling, man. All right, he don't give a fuck. He's a fucking faggot. He don't like women. He don't want his woman in suggestion. He wants to watch other people fuck his woman, man. And that's the spirit that's been on this place. And that's the spirit that's on this place. That's the spirit of the Edomites. That's the spirit that's on this place, Babylon the Great, man. But the ancient men weren't like that, man. All right? Any rebellion, backtalk, Walter Bam, it was checked, and it was met with a equal recompense and response, man. It says, verse 19, Esther 1:19, if it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. And when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. All right, we're gonna make an example out of her so that the rest of the his kingdom, the dynamic and the order be in check, man. But things going unchecked now, man. And that's why the only resemblance and remembrance of righteousness, all right, and a way to go in real manhood is the scriptures, man, and then the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai on the men who been dwelling in his scriptures, man. All right. 2 Samuel chapter 6 and verse 14 is saying, David danced before Yahweh Shema Shai with all his might, and David was girded with a linen ephod. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of Yahweh Shema Shai with shouting and with the sound of the trumpet. And as the ark of Yahweh Shema Shai came into the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before Yahweh Shema Shai, and she despised him in her heart. So she felt the way just because King David wrought great victory and much honor to Yahweh Shema Shai, all right, to the nation, all right, through him. Yahweh Shema Shai did those things through King David. All right, Yahweh Shema Shai set King David up to be the king of Israel, and King David was in and out amongst the people, man. All right, he's very much beloved. honestly, very great example and role model, man. Somebody whom you should look up to. Somebody whom we read about and look up to a lot, man. Very heavily, man. To see how he dwelt among the people. But his own woman. You got men, all right, warriors with blood on their hands, bodies, man. All right, with more respect to the king than his own woman did, man. Which is folly. And if that was the case back then, how much more now, man? So we just got to be stoic, steadfast, immovable, man. All right? Don't let these emotions of these people are weak. They're fickle, man. They change like the wind. What did Ahasuerus do? He didn't go back and forth with the bitch. No, look, we're going to go and get another better woman. What King David going to do, man? It says, Salakia. Verse 17, 2 Samuel 6:17, they brought in the ark of Yahweh Shem Yahushai and set it in its place in the midst of the tabernacle that David had pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And as soon as David had made an end of offering burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai of hosts. and he dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well to the women as men. So everyone a cake of bread and a good piece of flesh and a flagon of wine. So all the people departed, everyone to his house. Then David returned to bless his household, and Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David and said, how glorious was the king of Israel today, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids of his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovered himself. So she just, soon as the Lord ordained victory for King David. All right, the Lord ordained his position. All right, the Lord put it on his spirit to go in and out amongst the people and celebrate. All right, to put the nation into a winning congratulatory mood. And he come home after all that just to get talked down upon and talk shit upon by his own woman, man. All right, here it is. You could go and be winning great battles for Yahweh Shem Yahushai and for your people. And your own worst enemy is going to be the closest people next to you, that woman right next to you, man. And what did he do? All right, did he let it bother him? Did he let him throw it off his square? He definitely didn't get into a happy wife, happy life mindset. He definitely didn't get into a queen of heaven mindset. Verse 20 said, verse 21, it says, and David said unto Michal, it was before Yahweh Shem Yahushai, which chose me before thy father and before all his house, to appoint me ruler over the people of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, over Yasharallah. Therefore will I play before Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and I will yet be more vile than thus, and will be base in my own sight. And of the maid servants which thou hast spoken of them shall I be had in honor. Therefore Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child until the day of her death, man. And that's a better, rather than arguing, rather than anything, responding, don't even respond. All right, be a man like the ancient men. All right, she come in that wicked ass spirit. You know a wicked woman when you see it. You know a bitch who want to do her when you see it. Put that bitch away, man. Not saying just for any reason you put that bitch away, every inconvenience. All right, but it says, scripture say, if she be not as thou would have her, then give her a bill of divorce, cut her off, man. All right, baby, can you come with me to this ceremony? No, put that bitch away. You out there serving your Yahweh Shem Yahushai on the highways and byways. You come in, she talking shit. You don't gotta accept that, man. All right, don't get that bitch no dick, man. With the scriptures is written, all right, for our learning. If we do that example, apply those things, move within that same spirit and mindset, all right, and then you see the outcome. Yahweh Shem Yahushai, he dealing with the men. All right, what do you say? If you do these things, you'll never fall, man. All right, 1 Corinthians 11:3 says, but I would have you know that the head of every man is Yahweh Shai, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Yahweh Shai is Yahweh. So you the head. All right. Hey, look, if somebody don't want to serve Yahweh Shai, he not beating them over the head. And all right, now the elect is the elect, but man, somebody don't serve Yahweh Shai, you keep it moving. The Lord gonna find somebody. He said that he could raise up the stones to do it, man. All right, our head is not pressed over, He just trying to delight and see who willing to serve him. And that's the same mindset we should have when we picking and dealing with these fickle, weak, low-level women, man. Who is willing to serve you? If they not willing to do that, then, hey, she might not, probably ain't gonna make it, fam. She probably ain't gonna make it, fam. You are the prize. Israelite men who believe in Yahweh Shem Yahushai, you are the prize. You know how rare you are, man. Sirach chapter 33 and verse 18. Hear me, O ye great men of the people, and hearken with your ears, ye rulers of the congregation. Give not thy son and wife, thy brother and friend, power over thee while thou livest. And give not thy goods to another, lest they repent thee, and thou entreat for the same again. It says, as long as thou livest and have breath in thee, give not thyself over to any. It says, for better it is that thy children should seek to thee than that thou shouldest stand to their courtesy. And that's the thing. In all your ways, keep to yourself the preeminent. Why? Because you serve Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Ain't nobody else doing that. A nigga who don't serve Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, don't let them have no power over you, no control over you. They're not thinking in the right frame of mind, man. A bitch can't serve Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Don't let her rule over you. Don't let her think for you, man. All right, you tell her what to think, man. You know? It says, verse 22, it says, in all thy works, keep to thyself the preeminence, leave not a stain in thy honor, man. All right, so it's our way or the highway, man. It's our way, which is Yahweh Bashim Yahushai way or the highway, man. Simple, point blank, period, man. All right, so, hey, Lord willing, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Roger's out of lesson was edifying, correct, and direct to feed the lambs of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Mashiach Bashim Kakwadash. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Mashiach Bashim Kakwadash. All right, double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone whom taught us this truth. Shalom to the brothers and the very few sisters seeking and pushing Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Mashiach, Ba'ashim, Kakadash, in truth and sincerity. Shalom, Markwam, Yasharala, and Abba, Abba.